For the tools, you can access through Column, Codeblocks, Dev C++, and Online GDB. Codeblocks is the most common use. For Dev C++ or C, there's two versions. I will show you in a while. And the third is Online GDB. So there are other online compilers. If you don't like the Online GDB, you can Google for this, and they have like Programmist, Tutorial Points, they have their own one. There's a lot of options actually. So if you think like, okay, you don't like the way this interface look like, yeah, you can try the Programmist one. So when you do here, you click run and then it outputs here. That's object file. So things like that. So this is a bit lightweight because you just use your browser. But of course, when it comes to the coding, you have to copy, paste, save it somewhere else, okay? But if you're using Codeblocks and Dev C++, yeah, then you can run it on your computer. I believe most of you are using at least like uh, AMD or Intel i5, i7. For those who are using like lower than i5, like i3 and so on, yeah, that might be a little bit of issue, but mostly on storage performance. Other than that, if you're having SSD, I think i3 will survive. It shouldn't be much of a problem. Okay, so you can Google for any other additional tools. At this moment, I'm just going to show on this. Okay, so for Codeblocks, you just have to go to downloads and click on the download the binary release. And yeah, there are students that message me asking that, okay, sir, which one should I download? Okay, if you download just this version, you will not have the compiler. You'll be able to write your codes, but you'll not be able to run the codes. So the running of the codes is the MingW. This is something you require to compile. So you have to download this edition. Okay. Of course, if you are running on older version of Windows, which is basically 32-bit, then you need this. But if you guys are running on new laptops for the past 2 to 3 years, uh, all Windows are now on 64-bit. So basically, you just have to download this. All right. Um, that's for Codeblocks. For Dev C++, if you take from this link, you will come to this. This is the latest. The interface is a little different. Most online, if you Google, they will give you this edition. This is the one that I used to use before. It's updated to 2020. But the compiler might be a problem depending on the Windows that you are using. For me, I tried on my Windows 10, 64-bit, with its latest Windows. It doesn't run for me. So I have to reset up. So I'm going to show you guys. For Codeblocks, you can grab this one. And then for Dev C++, you can take this one, or you can access this another version. This is latest. The interface is slightly different. Okay, so what you have to do is click on this. You can choose either SourceForge or ForceHub. Either one, doesn't matter. Once this is download, I think this is about less than 50 megabyte, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but I already downloaded this. No. For the Codeblocks, it's about 145 megabyte. For the Dev C++, the old version, the 4.9.9.2, that's about 9 megabyte. And the latest one, it's about Yep, 70 megabyte. So once you have clicked from here and also from this download button, you'll get these files. Okay, you don't have to install all. uh, just pick whichever you prefer, but for the classes we'll be using Codeblocks, so I need you guys to install the Codeblocks. That's compulsory. Okay, so this is where you can get the files. So now I'll show on the installation. So we'll start with Codeblocks. You'll receive a screen like this. Just click next, agree. Just put full because you need all the plugins and extra things. Next, this is the default because it's a 64-bit, so it will pick program files, or else there'll be like x86 there. Click install, and you just have to wait. The speed depending on your hardware, which means it's on your computer. So if you're using i7 and with SSD, then it will be way faster. So we just wait it to complete. For code blocks, it's usually not a big issue because it's just you just have to click next and it will set up for you everything. But of course, if you want to tweak or customize your code blocks, you know, to have like dark theme, uh, high contrast, you know, things like that. That's of course on your own preference. So then just click yes. Do you want to run? Just click yes. It will launch the code blocks. And like me, I like to associate all supported files so I can move projects around. So just click OK, and there you go. Code blocks is done. I think you guys are already familiar, but because you have used this in problem solving. So your project or workspace files are on the left. Of course, you can adjust this accordingly. The view, all the files, the logs, the builds are there. Things you can change. You can, yeah, edit the editor. A lot of things you can do, but these are things that I would say just leave it as default. So you can even change the background. Some people prefer black color background because it's less strain to the eyes. So yeah, there are things that you can modify. So this is on your own customization. So in my case, I'm just going to leave it as normal because yeah, if I set up this, I have to uninstall it to reinstall back for my other sections. So basic, just click create new project. We'll be doing on console. So click on console application, click go, select C. C++ and C, the libraries are different. You have include libraries like Conio or continuous input output, conio.h. And then C++ uses C in and C out for what we say input and output. But for C, it uses printf and scanf. So yeah, it's different. So we are on C. This is something that you can select depending on you. Where do you want to store your project files? Like me, I like to keep it on desktop because you know when you want to upload to Kalam and so on, yeah, it's easier to find your files. So let's put in let exercise 1. Just next, this is the compiler. If you don't choose the Ming WCC, the Ming W thing, then yeah, you might not get the compiler together. So and then as usual, there you go. Here are the files that you can start working on. Okay, so this is for Codeblocks. Let's show you for the dev C++. You can use this, but if I use this, it won't run on my PC, on my laptop. So I have to set up a lot of things. So for me, this one works better. So once you click this, it will unpack the files. So once the files are unpacked, just click English and then agree. Click on full. For here, the compiler is GCC 9.2. If you take, very close it. If you take on the earlier version of the dev C++, the compiler is the 4 point something. Okay, it's older, so it might not support on latest Windows. So click on full, next, and just install. Just in case if some of you guys are using the old version and you're running on Windows 10 64-bit, there are certain settings that you need to change. It's similar as this, I will show in a while. Okay, so we'll run. It will let you to choose, of course, English language. Color, you can choose different style. I'll just go with the classic. Next, and okay. So once you do that, this is how the interface looks like. Okay, it's a bit different than the dev C++ standard. For the normal one, how to test whether it's working fine with you or not. Once you install, you get this screen. Click on File, New, Project, and then Console Application. Click this C project, and like me, I like to make it default because I only work with C projects at this moment. And then you put exercise 1, click OK, and then it will ask you where do you want to save the project file. So I'll put it on the desktop, and then there you go. So the interface is a little different. See whichever that's convenient for you. And of course, we have to test. Like this, once it's done, we'll just compile run to see that we don't have any issues. So no warnings whatsoever. And when you get the screen, then you know that your Codeblocks is working fine. So there's no issue. All right. For this, you just have to click execute, compile and run, or you can use the F11 shortcut. It will ask where do you want to save the C file. Let's put it on desktop, the main C file. Once done, it will build and you will get the console screen. So this means that it is fine. Okay, so any questions so far regarding the setup for this editor?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. So once you have done that, okay, no issues on that. So let's take a look on our exercise for today. So you can go to the section 1 assessment. Click on the lab exercise 1 question, which you'll be able to see this. It's just a page, just one page. All right. So your task today is you have to do exercise 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. And what you have to do is you just have to upload. Go in here. And okay, in my case, because I'm not a student, so you just have to submit. The attachment that allowed is .c file. uh, I mentioned one, right, because there are three, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So you can upload 3.c file for this exercise. So each C file is for each particular exercise. So your task will be the first one. Uh, we haven't touched yet on the control statement because I want you guys to familiarize with the programming just to freshen up. So for this week exercise, yep, copy paste this, try to figure out what's the issue and try to solve, make sure it runs, and then upload the main.c file for this. For exercise 1.2, this is the thing that I believe last semester for CSA, many of the groups actually do body mass index, right? You guys did BMI project. So you guys are familiar, which is basically the calculation is you take the weight in kilogram, you divide with the height in meter, power of 2. So the equation is weight divided by the height square, okay? Or you can put a bracket in your coding, height times height, and then the weight you divide by this and you get the BMI. So your second exercise is basically to identify the input process output. And I think this is something that you have learned in your problem solving using that table. So what you have to do, just do a C file that you get the input from the user, which you mentioned in kg for weight, in meter for height, and then you calculate and display the BMI. So for exercise 1.3 is you need to construct a converter. So in CSA application before, you do the block-based programming, which you just drag and drop. You get the input from the user and everything. For this, you basically have to type in the code. So like I showed earlier during the lecture session, you just have to get you printf, ask the user, please key in the amount in US dollar that you would like to convert. And then in your scanf, you save the input amount as US dollar. And then for your process, what you have to do is use this calculation. But I want you to check on the latest. USD to MYR. Let's see what's the latest conversion rate. So 1 USD is 4.09 Malaysian ringgit. So 1 USD equals to 4.09. So what you do is that from the input of the US dollar, you multiply with 4.09, and then your output will be the display in ringgit Malaysia. I want the symbol RM to be there. All right, so that would be your exercise for today, just to freshen up. And once you have done that, you can submit here. But of course, you have to submit it by today. So that's the exercise for today. Any questions so far?
No question, sir.
All
Sir,
right. Yes.
so we need to do it in the code block and screenshot and paste it on the Word.
No, no.
To
Okay. Uh, for the submission, okay, let me show you a demo. So assume this now it's a lower right. Okay. Once you type in your code, you have done this, build, and then you try to run. It's working fine, no issues, right? Okay. Now you have to submit the .c file. So for this, we will go to our desktop. It's in this folder. Sorry, I have another screen. So yeah, you will see based on the location that you set earlier. Remember I showed you in terms of the file location. So if your project is saved in desktop, it will be here. Open this and you will see this is your project file. The thing you need to submit is this main.c, which is basically, if you take a look in Notepad, you'll be able to see the code exactly as this. So what you need to do is not to submit this text file, but to submit this file only. So you just have to upload this file in column. Sorry, in my case, I can't see this. I have to change it, my role. In student, you can see there'll be a slot for submission. You're allowed to submit 3 files. So what you can do, this file, right? Copy, put it here. Okay. When you paste it here, uh, you can rename this if you want to make it easier. Let's see, what's this? Exercise 1.1. So once you do your exercise 1.1, you rename exercise 1.1.c. And then when you do your second exercise 1.2, 1.3, each of it you'll have a project folder like this. Go and look for your main.c, copy that, rename it to the exercise. So you'll have 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. And then you highlight that tree and you just have to upload in this slot, which is here. So yep, that's all you have to do. So once you complete it, just submit that. Do not submit a screenshot or any other files because the submission only accepts .c file. So to make things clear, so 3.c file. So you can submit 3 files. Okay. I did this as well. So that's your task. Just submit the .c file and rename it according to the exercise. Okay. So Akimi, we need to access the programming. What do you mean? Akimi, what was the question actually? Oh, okay. So yeah, just save it in .c file and then you just have to submit that. You don't have to zip. Uh, Always check on the submission. Is it C file or is it a project file? Because sometimes you have to submit the entire project. If entire project, you just have to click this, zip it, and you will get something like this, and you can just send this. But for this exercise, I don't need the project files. I just need the C file. So there'll be 3 C files. So yep, that's the exercise for today. So if you guys have no questions, you can start working on your exercise right now, and you can submit it before 12 p.m. But the deadline I provided up to, yep, tonight, midnight. So yep, until night you have time. So all right, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. So please start practicing. Uh, get familiar with the code blocks. I think it shouldn't be a problem because you guys already used to it using code blocks. So if you have any questions, you want to explore a little more, or if you think that you have forgotten, okay, the declaration, the syntax and everything, yep, you can browse through the video. Things that to be noted is like the scanf, you have to put the ampersand, and then there's a, percentage, the symbol, which is if you want to put or display something, this percent. There are few keywords which is D for decimal or number, I for integer, C for character, not words, just character. If you have a complete word, then it's S, which is string. Other than that, we rarely use we don't use much of the others. So if you're putting string and so on, it's S, and always a comma, and this is the variable name that you want to get the information and store it or display here. So for scanf, you just have to add the and symbol or the ampersand. So declaration is standard integer for number, this is the variable name. Float is for like currency. Like just now the question, it requires you from US dollar to Malaysia ringgit. So yeah, you use float for currency. For alphabet, which means a single alphabetical, then you use char. If you want to take something like your name, then you need to put this bracket, the size of the characters of the word. So your name might be less than 20 alphabets. So, yep. So this is a declaration. And then printf and scanf as usual. Printf, scanf. You can notice or check through the autocomplete for Codeblocks. So you double click, it will actually complete for you. And then it will let you know what's the display and what's the variables and so on as you type. So comma, and then here you'll have that, let's say, key in your name, and your name is going to be, oh no, you're just taking input first. You're asking the user input. So you're going to save it as string, and the variable will be name. Oh, unused variable. We're not using it, so I can just close it. 0 warning. So then when you run, get this screen. And nothing because it just inputs and save it. Okay. So yeah, that's all for the exercise for today. So once you have done it, yep, you can submit it. So right, if there's no questions, yeah, feel free to explore on C programming. It's a bit difficult than computer science application that you have learned last semester. That one is a bit more on concept, which means you did learn on how to use the functions, the statements, and it's based on the blocks. Right now in programming technique, what are you going to do is you basically going to develop that blocks. So what's the coding behind it? Pretty much it's usually like this. So you're creating your own blocks. All right. So if there's no question, then don't forget your attendance, and I'll see you guys on next week, Monday. All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So meantime, just keep practicing. The more you practice and try on C programming, the better you become. Because reading will not help you much, but more on the concept, yeah. So, all right then. So enjoy your day, and I'll see you guys next week.